I have a question for about unity in our district, in our city. You know, I know if you've been following the last few years of school board meetings and, you know, all the things that have gone on, it's been quite a ride. And I think the board has kind of become divided in a sense, and the community, hence supporting whoever they support, has become divided. What are your views and ideas on how to bring us all to become one Dublin again, to kind of bring us all together with a unified voice?
Thank you for asking that question. So I naively didn't realize how severe this division was in the city. So I think it's good in a sense that I'm coming to the table without now that much knowledge of all that history. And so I'm not coming in with a pre-biased opinion of like who I want to side with. And not that I would side with anyone anyways, but I'm not coming in with any of that pre-biased judgment or history that is there. So that's number one that I think will be beneficial. Number two, I have spoken to every single current board member to introduce myself to them, let them get to know me, because it's important for me to get along with whoever is on the board at the end of this election. The other thing is that I think that because of who I am, I'm a communicator, and I'm just a communicator naturally. And if there's a problem, I want us to talk about it. So for example, I started seeing all this stuff on social media, which I'm not usually in these groups, and I've joined them in the last few months. And I started to see all these comments about the division. And so what did I do? I emailed Robbie and said, can we talk? Like, we're just gonna get to the bottom of this. I'm not going to engage in. And there was only a couple comments that I made, just asking whoever had comments that were a little bit inflammatory, please call me. Let's have a conversation. Those were my responses. And then I just went to Robbie directly and said, I don't understand where all of this division is coming from, but can we talk about it? So that's how I operate. And I think that the other thing I think that is important is that this city has been divided into districts for purposes that to make sure there's representation from every part of the city. But it also creates a natural division, right? And I think that as a trustee, you need to understand your job in that district is to bring that voice to the table, but your decisions are to represent the entire city. And so I think that as long as you keep that in the forefront, and we keep reminding each other that this is a city decision, this is not just for our district. And then I think transparency and communication. So I think that sometimes a lot of things spiral out of control when assumptions are made, which is what happened, something that saw happen on social media. There were a lot of assumptions. People didn't actually know what happened with my communication with the DTA. And so a lot of assumptions were made, and people don't necessarily know me and who I interact with. So a lot of assumptions are made. And so I think that the board being transparent and clear with the community when they're making decisions, why they're making those decisions. So we're not always going to agree. There will be disagreements. The community is not always going to agree with decisions made. But I think that if the board can explain step by step the logic behind why they're making a decision, well, then at least you can say, well, I don't agree with it, but I understand. They explain themselves, right? And then that takes away the assuming that can lead thereafter. So and then the last thing that I have just talked about a lot with people that I've spoken to is when whoever takes the board seat in December, there needs to be some type of retreat, or which it will be difficult in COVID, so it would have to be some in-depth meetings online or something, to really get to know each other, to do some personality tests and understand what your personality is and how you interact with people of different personality. There's some great personality tests out there that I've done that shows you, like, if you're a personality type 1 and someone is a personality type 2, the way that you interact with each other or the way some 2 does something may make you have a perception of number 2, like they're lazy, but that's just their personality style, right? So as long as you start to understand how each other operates and your personality, then you don't take it personal, you change your expectations, you're able to communicate with each other in a more effective way because you understand each other and how you operate. So I think doing some in-depth type of personality to develop, do some teamwork, some team building to develop trust, and then setting priorities as a group so that you know as a group what we're collectively working towards. Because when you have your own agendas and your own priorities, it doesn't work because you're so focused on that all the time that you can't agree to see what anyone else has. So I think that the board needs to put together, you know, I said 5. I keep saying 5 priorities because I think it represents the 5 board members, but 5 priorities that maybe you agree on. This is our next year. These are the priorities for next year, and take a vote, right? So that you all agreed, you all voted on it. So you all agreed that was your top priorities, and then move together. Because at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be heard. Everyone wants to have a voice and be heard. And if you can't be heard, then you can't work together and you can't move forward. So that's kind of where that's kind of how I see things.